Yo, folks, we're going to be talking about alcohol and genetics. Okay, right. Why did I think about asking strivers about this topic? Again, Reddit. I was reading this Reddit thread, and somebody said, my father is an alcoholic, and now so am I. Okay, my father is an alcoholic, and now so am I. And I thought to myself, whoa, that's like really sad. Like, that's like me saying, my dad is a miserable, boring, unlovable bastard. So I guess I am, or it's like you're giving up. It's like my fate is predetermined, right? And I didn't really like it. So I said to the strivers, what do you think about this, folks? Do you feel there is a genetic proponent? If so, then how decisive do you think that it was for you? Does it matter if there is a genetic proponent here? And what are the benefits and pitfalls of placing all your chips on the genetic circle? I'm all in on genetics. What is the benefits and the pitfalls of that? So Kim from Australia, she was off on the starting blocks at first. And Kim, adamant. Kim is like, there's nothing to do with genetics, man. She's like, no way. She said there is no identifiable gene that exists in her understanding that is related to alcohol addiction. Okay. Her view is that parents who have alcohol addiction, they have a really, really deep impact on us as children. And we are then more likely to drink alcohol than we grow up. So, the influence of our mentors and our parents in particular, and our environment, our household, is a real kind of a precursor to whether or not we're going to drink alcohol or not, according to Kim. And I'm with her on that, She also said that when you see that your parents are choosing alcohol over you, that they love alcohol more than you, that has an extremely warped and strange kind of feeling for you as a child. Only the other day, actually, we were having dinner here in the household. It's very, very unusual for there to be any alcohol on the table. And my father-in-law just cracked open a can of Coors and gave half to his wife while they were while they're eating. And my daughter said, can I have some of that? And my father-in-law said, when you're older, we will have one of these together. And in that moment, I was like, oh man, like he's fucking nailed it. That is alcoholism as an invisible, violent, and dominant belief system. She wants that now. She wants to be connected to her granddad. She wants to be on a level. She's been told she can't have it until she passes the test, okay? Which is like of age and of maturity and responsibility, right? So, I think that has a lot to do with it. So I think Kim nails it there. What else did Kim do? Kim says, I thought I was tainted and destined to be like my father, but not genetically. She says the poison is the common denominator, not blood. All right? Alcohol is the common denominator here, not blood. Stella says it's all about us believing that alcohol is acceptable. That it's acceptable to drink it, it's normal and pleasurable. And it makes massive billions and billions and billions of dollars, trillions of dollars for these giant corporations. It's not genetics, she doesn't think. It's more about the system. It's more about the addictive system. Anna says, I don't know. I just don't know. Like, I don't know if it's genetic or not. I'm not a scientist, she says. But what she does know is alcohol is no respecter of people. It doesn't matter what class you are, what gender you are. It's going to fuck you up. Like, end of story. It doesn't matter what gender, it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, right? She prefers the concept that we teach at 1000 Days Sober, which is the alcohol spectrum. This is why you'll hear me say, my name is Lee Davey. I am not an alcoholic when I do my podcast, right? I don't identify as an alcoholic. I did when I first started out, but that was just because I didn't have any better words or terminology to describe it. So I just fell into societal conditioning and the terms and the norms that were present to me at the time. I then, looked at it and thought, hang on a minute, we're more on a spectrum. So here we've got the quote unquote, which hand is it? Here we've got the quote unquote alcoholic, the stereotypical alcoholic, and at the other end we've got like Auntie Hilda who drinks one little snifter of whiskey every Christmas, and everybody who drinks is on that spectrum somewhere. And the more that you drink, it's a slippery slope. You're going to slide down there. So Anna agrees with that concept that I introduced in 1000 Days Sober, is that we're all just somewhere on this spectrum. And the more we drink, the more we're going to slide down that spectrum until we end up in Alan Carr's pitcher plant and we can't get out of it again. And that is addiction, right? Similar as Kim, Anna says that household environment is a massive, massive part of this. If you raise your children in a loving, beautiful, wonderful home with no drugs about, they're more likely to not drink and take drugs. If you raise them where you're smoking and you're drinking and all that kind of thing is normalized, they're more likely to drink and smoke, right? So she says it all begins in the home. What Anna really thinks is important is that she's responsible for her own behavior and that she chooses what to do or what not to do. And she's a person with her own convictions. And that is not going to be an available option to her if it's genetic. If there's an alcoholic gene that we are chained to, then how can she be responsible for her own behaviors, right? She can just pass it off. And she says the pitfalls of thinking that genetics is a massive issue here is that you can start to become conditioned or controlled and you feel helpless, that there's nothing I can do about it. And that's a benefit because it gives you an excuse that you don't have to change, that you can keep drinking because there's nothing I can do about it. I'm just doomed. You know, Laurie says something very similar. She says the pitfall I see in this is hopelessness. I can't imagine accepting that no matter how hard I work and change, it will always come back to that square one of genetics, says Laurie. She says that she, again, not quite sure whether it's genetic or not. We're all being a bit honest here at Strive that we're not scientists. She says it's more to do with culture and conditioning. She said the statement that I started with someone saying my father is an alcoholic, so I guess now I am. She said it made her feel so sad and frustrated that this person had put himself in that box and slapped that label on him. And I feel the same way. Like I said, she said I hate to think that we have to accept a fate just because it's out of our control. You know, control is a big thing. Autonomy is a massive thing. It's a massive part of the human condition. And if we don't think we have control in a certain area, we could go downhill rapidly, okay? Again, Mike says, maybe it is genetic, maybe it isn't. He actually lists out his family tree, his history, and everybody in his family tree, down his lineage, has had problems with alcohol. But then he's big enough and bold enough to say, well, I don't know. Maybe it is and maybe it isn't. But I do know, says Mike, it's a damn good excuse. Genetics is a damn good excuse. It's a choice, says Mike. Nobody forces us to drink. And if you think about it, they don't, do they? Right at the beginning of our drinking career, when we choose to drink, it's less likely we're going to be making a conscious choice. We are more likely to be swayed by alcoholism as an invisible, violent and dominant belief system. But now today, at the age of 43 or 55 or 35 or 78 or 62 or whatever you are, nobody's forcing you to drink. You're making that choice. There's no genes at play in that. You are making your choice. Or, sorry, not that there's no genes at play, but the genes aren't the ultimate reason why you're drinking. Nobody's forcing you to do that. And Mike says, in the end, you are accountable. It is your responsibility, not some dead family members, in my humble opinion. Always to the point, Mike. I like that. Sue, does it matter, she says, question mark. It is my understanding, Sue says, that genes are less important than epigenetics. They need to be sparked by environment and experience. Many offspring of alcoholics purposely never drink. Some manage to moderate okay. I guess it could be unhelpful for some to identify as genetically predisposed, as this may engender feelings of inevitability and powerlessness, says Sue. On the other hand, it may allow for some partial understanding, or maybe why it becomes a problem for some. But personally, I don't think it changes the outcome for anyone unless there's an attachment to the belief that it matters. She said it's a bit like depression, I guess. I see it in my family, but it's not going to make me throw in the towel and let it win, okay? And, a really, really important points from Sue. Like epigenetics, don't know too much about them, but what I do know about them is the net result of it is we can change pretty much anything about us, right? Like we're not fixed with our genes and that is it. We can change them over time, habit, experience, whatever, right? Alan says, I don't like this, it's like, what is an addictive personality and what does that even mean? That's something that goes through my head a lot when people say to me, do you have an addictive personality? What does that mean? Like, we're all addicts, right? just because I get on a microphone and say, yeah, I'm addicted to pornography, I'm addicted to sugar, I'm addicted to smoking, drinking, addicted to gambling, it doesn't mean that the person who's not admitting they're addicted to something isn't addicted to something. Even if they're sat on their ass doing nothing, they're addicted to sitting on their ass doing nothing. We're all addicted to something. So what on earth does an addictive personality mean, right? He believes it's all about conditioning, environment, and marketing. Strive coach Liza, what am I calling her Lisa for? My wife, Liza. She says there have been studies that show that people with altered dopamine receptors have a predisposition for addiction. However, even if a parent has altered dopamine receptors, it's not guaranteed that the offspring will get past these genes, even if you're in the same family, because of the roll of the dice. Example is, not everyone will have blue eyes because there are two parents that you inherited genes from. There's also MTHFR, which is a genetic defect. Both can be genetic and environmentally influenced. Okay. She says, although my dad has shown signs of depression and other mental health issues, I think that my predisposition was influenced by my environment because I was introduced to alcohol at a very young age and I was looked at differently because of it. And I liked the response. But later in life, I also had depression and needed substances to medicate the discomfort. She also talks about Sue's point on epigenetics. Our predispositions are not our destiny, she says. We can shape the way our biochemistry influences us by changing our environment, our communities, and what we put into our bodies. Desire to change is how we get here. Really good, powerful points there, Eliza. Me, what do I think? I think, sometimes I think to myself, what's the point? Who cares, right? Like, for me, we only have like a finite amount of time in the world in which where to focus our energies. So for me personally, it was, okay, when I decided that I wanted to be somebody who doesn't drink alcohol and I wanted to understand the why do I drink? I was like, do I go down this rabbit hole of biology and find out what's going to tell me about my genes? Or do I go down the rabbit hole of psychology and sociology and what it's going to tell me about the world and about the way that I think? And for me, that's where I felt more natural. Probably because going through school, I was never kind of into the kind of science, swatty, stuff. Honestly, that's just a genetic thing for me. I feel a little bit of fear about going down the genetic route as well, and if I can even understand it. And I worry that if I don't understand it, if I don't understand my genes, if I don't understand neurochemicals, neurotransmitters and all that kind of stuff, then I'll lose hope and then I won't be that interested in giving up drinking alcohol. So I think for me, if you're a real kind of like sciencey, geeky kind of person who's really interested in genetics and that kind of thing and biology, then by all means get stuck into it. But if you're like me and you're more into psychology and thinking about how the world works and how marketing and advertising and culture leads into that, then go down that route as well. If you have all the time in the world, do the whole lot. I will put a caveat in there though. The psychology, culture, social kind of route, it all gives you control. It all allows you to make the decision. Biology doesn't. Epigenetics apart, which I don't know that much about, what tends to happen when I'm in alcohol forums listening to other people, I don't hear many people go, it's genetic, I'm an alcoholic. But luckily for me, epigenetics exists, so I can change. I never hear that. I always hear, I'm an alcoholic, I'm doomed for life because it's in my genes. So that way of thinking really has to change. Maybe epigenetics is the answer. I don't know. But at the moment, that locked in belief that I can't do anything about it and the hopelessness that comes with that, I don't buy that. I know that people when Alcoholics Anonymous will disagree with this though, and they'll find that actually identifying as an alcoholic and that it's genetic actually gives them some power. I don't really understand that, and if you are a member of Alcoholics Anonymous and you do believe that, please drop a note in the comments and let us know your thinking about it. I'd like to learn more about that for sure. The key thing here for me though is resistance. We have to remember that we really, really don't want to stop drinking alcohol. I know that's a very contentious thing. You say, what the fuck are you on about? I've been trying to give up drinking for 20 years. Like, I've got about a million day ones. But we don't want to give up drinking. Like, if we were to tell the truth, we don't want to moderately drink. We'd want to drink in the times that we feel that are good for us. Maybe we would want to toast with champagne at a wedding reception. Maybe we would want to have a glass of wine with our loved one during a meal. So it's really a case, in my experience, that people are more likely to want to keep it recreationally, but not out of control, but get rid of it medicinally. I don't want to use it to numb. I don't want to use it to drink alone, but I don't mind having a few drinks with my friends type of thing, right? So I don't think people really understand how much value they find in drinking alcohol. It's not like heroin or cocaine. It is so deeply embedded in your social structure, in your relationships and connections. Think about what I said earlier on about my father-in-law and Zia. You know, that connection that could bond over a drink of alcohol. Like it's you're not going to see that with cocaine. Like my father-in-law's not going to bust out a needle and say, "Hey, yeah, I'm going to shoot up. You can have some when you're older." Like this doesn't exist, right? So because of the incredible amount of value that we find in drinking alcohol, resistance, this voice in our head that really doesn't want us to stop, is going to be trying everything it can in the book to stop you from quitting and to derail you. And ladies and gentlemen, if you tell resistance that it's biological, that your father and his father and his father and his father and his father was an alcoholic, then you're fucked. Because resistance will win every single time. Okay. One last thing that I just want to just throw out there. You know, I grew up in a small little valley called Ogmore Vale, and I look around me and everybody drinks, right? Everybody drinks. And I always used to ask myself, does that mean everybody in Ogmore Vale has an alcohol gene, an addictive gene? Seriously? Are we that backward that we're all mating with each other along the lines here, that we're all got this addictive gene? Or is the fact that we're all drinking because we live in this little valley, and the culture, our worldview, our value is all intertwined in alcohol being an incredibly important part of our valley life? You know, and for me, my own personal experience in that valley has helped me to say to myself, nah, I'm not going to go down the genetic rabbit hole. It doesn't serve me. It doesn't help me. It doesn't give me control. But, you know, 1,000 Days Sober experience and a philosophy that we help drive into your skull, that really does give you control. So if you want to get control over this, come and join 1,000 Days Sober experience and we'll help you out. If you think that it's genetic and you're fucked, then it doesn't matter if you join us, you're fucked. All right, keep on striving. And if you got any questions or any comments, oh yeah, before I go, answer the question yourself down there, right? Do you feel there's a genetic proponent? If so, then how decisive do you think it has been in your journey? Does it matter if it's genetic? Can we just forget about it? Do we have to even go there? And what are the benefits and pitfalls if we go all in on genetics and we don't think about anything else? Thanks for listening.